Hello, and welcome to the Mothers of All Crime. This is a podcast where we deep dive into mothers involved in infamous crimes and scandals. I'm Monica, and this is Crystal.
Welcome back to the Mothers of All Crime. This week, me and my girl Crystal are going to be talking about Viriginia Gonzalez.
Yeah, she is an interesting one. I'm excited to hear what your thoughts on her.
Yeah, so I was, scrolling the internet as you do, looking at recent crimes, just in a terrible vortex. And I came across Viriginia Gonzalez of Austin, Texas, who came to police attention for possession of marijuana, which is like a pretty low level crime, in my opinion. In Texas, it is illegal, but in the great state of New Jersey, that is not illegal. So in Texas, she was
Yeah, it's that
arrested.
weird one. Depends on where you are, right?
It really truly does. It matters state to state. I mean, she was a resident of Austin, Texas, so I'm sure that she knew the laws where she lived and that it was illegal, and I don't know the quantity. I mean, of course, there's still an amount that you're not allowed to have in New Jersey, but it's pretty high. So, regardless, she kind of got busted on like a low level drug charge. And her mother, the grandmother of the children that she has, went to check on the kids because their mom had gotten arrested. So, Virginia is 33 and she has 8 kids total, ranging in ages from 2 to 14.
That
The
sounds
grand
exhausting.
Can you even imagine? And you're 33 and you have a 14-year-old and you also have a 2-year-old
So
and
you
they're
start
living in an
having
apartment.
babies at 19 and then literally probably you didn't stop.
Yeah.
Like you
It's like
just
every year, basically. Maybe
wow.
like a year and a half each.
That's can you
Yeah.
imagine trying to afford that? I can't. No wonder why she needed to smoke some weed.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably need more than weed. So the grandma goes to check on the kids and she finds something a lot worse than marijuana when she gets there. She found her 7-year-old granddaughter barricaded in a closet by 6 of her other siblings. She apparently had been kept there for like a month. A
Wow.
3 foot by 1 foot closet. So, of course, she called the police and the children were interviewed. The 10-year-old brother of this little girl said that she only gets one corn dog and a half a cup of water per day. The 14-year-old sister reportedly said she's being punished for getting into stuff and eating things she's not supposed to. This poor little girl was only 29 pounds at
Ugh.
7 years old and reportedly has brain damage from severe malnourishment.
Oh yeah. Because if you think about it, like a 7-year-old child on average is weighing more like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And assuming, like, even if she's small for her size. And so you have these kids, and I can imagine being a single parent with 8 children, you're living a very strict life. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You're making sure food is allocated probably to the rice grain. And I can imagine if like one of your kids got into the pantry and ate an entire box of something, it would be frustrating. But to quote punish your child for eating something because they're hungry by locking them in the closet and then not feeding them seems counterproductive.
Yeah, it really doesn't seem like it would um reduce that kind of behavior. If anything, it would just make it worse.
And
Um
then one corn dog, like I don't that just breaks my heart.
Gross,
It
first
feels
of
like
all.
it should be like a Law and Order episode, right? That you would see.
Yeah, it really does. It's like something that you would see in a movie. It's so horrific. You would just not think that someone would be capable of actually having their other children lock their sibling in a closet. The door was completely barricaded. And the 6 other children are reportedly of normal weights. They are not malnourished. So it's just this one child that has been singled out for this kind of treatment, which is interesting and not uncommon, and brings me to my next point, where apparently this is the first time that it's been brought to police attention that there actually should be an 8th child as well. Because if, you know, this story, there's a little girl that's locked in the closet and her 6 siblings are keeping her in said closet. But like I said, Virginia has 8 kids. So this is
So
not
where's
adding up
the
for the
eighth one?
police.
Like,
Exactly. So a CPS investigation is of course opened up, and Virginia is initially hard to find for a couple of weeks during this time because she was released on her minor charges. She was released. And then she kind of was MIA, AWOL, not findable. It took about 15 days for them to find her. Um, During that investigation, it came to light that none of the children are enrolled in school and that 9-year-old Ava should have been living in the home, but there is absolutely no trace of her in the home. And the last photographs anyone has of her and the last sighting of her was Christmas Day 2017 when she was 2 years old. She should be 9.
and this
No one
is
knows who her father is.
active, right? Like this is
This
something
is
that's
active.
recent within the last couple of days in the news, right?
Yeah, so this happened on April 25th, that I guess the official missing persons thing started with Ava Gonzalez. Um the initial arrest was May 3rd. I mean, April 3rd, 2025. So it's all pretty recent,
Yeah, no,
and
I
it
just
just
wanted
blows my
to
mind that no.
contextualize, yeah, the 2021 part
Yeah.
of that, right? Because it's not like we have been known to talk about cases that happened a while ago, and this is not
Yeah, no,
one
this
of
is
them.
2025. Yeah, this is 2025 that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Very recent, very ongoing. But it blows my mind that a child could be missing from 2017 to 2025 and it has not been reported. No one's looking for her. There's no missing posters of her. Nothing. It's like she never existed.
So here's what I think is bizarre, right? So you have grandma who is concerned enough that when her daughter gets arrested, she checks on the kids. But for the last 4 years, have you not gone and checked on the kids to notice that one of them's missing?
Yeah, it brings up a few questions like that for me. Like, it makes me feel like no one was really invested in any of Virginia's kids because it kind of was falling through the cracks that they were not at school, that they were involved in the abuse of another sibling, that Ava is missing for 7 years. Like, I don't know how these things are flying under the radar. I don't know how there haven't been any previous investigations. I don't know how a grandmother could be involved enough to get a call to go check on them, but she isn't curious to know where Ava is. What I was able to find is that Virginia, I guess, has been telling people many different conflicting stories about where Ava is. Some of the stories include that she lives with her father, but like I said, there's no father on the birth certificate. No one seems to know who her father is. So, I mean, perhaps Virginia knows and perhaps Ava lives with him, but you think at the time of your arrest, if the police are saying that she is missing and we need you to confirm where she lives, that's the point that you would give dad's name, number, address, and it could be
Right.
very quickly verified. Even if he lives out of the country, out of the state, do you have any vague idea who he is or where she is? Makes me think it's all BS. And that it's shudder to think about.
Yeah. And also, I wonder if these kids were ever in school because Texas has some pretty
Hmm.
intense truancy laws where if a kid misses a certain amount of days, they look into the household, the family. There could be juvenile consequences for that. And
Yeah.
you have a 14-year-old who's a middle schooler. So I'm wondering if they ever went to school or if they like bounced around different schools and like the paperwork got lost, because we all know how that administration kind of stuff works. It doesn't always go according to plan. um but that's interesting that 8 of them fell through cracks, not just one.
Yeah. It is interesting to me. I mean, when you look it up and you look up the laws in Texas, it says that children over the age of 6 and under the age of 19 are supposed to go to like compulsory public education.
Yeah.
But of course, there are exceptions. There can be religious exceptions, homeschool exceptions, private school exceptions. Children who have severe disabilities are usually accommodated in schools,
Yeah.
but sometimes they cannot be. And so there would be some sort of home instruction, or, if a child is in like a permanent residential facility, they would be getting some sort of education through that. Like, there are reasons that children do not go to school. I don't know how you could justify 8 kids not going to school. And like Ava, if she has been missing from the age of 2 prior to going to school, that makes sense to me a little bit, that she was able to fall through the cracks and was
Yeah.
never registered for school. But to a kid getting to the age of 14 and not being enrolled in school, like, you'd think truancy court would be involved. You think child protective services would be involved, that there would be wellness checks conducted prior to this. I don't know how you could live off the grid, essentially, with this many kids.
And not to be shitty, but if you have 8 kids, I've googled her a little bit, but I don't see her having like a successful career of any kind. It can only be assumed that she's getting some kind of assistance with this many children, and that would initially mean like you're off grid, right? So the government would have known that these children exist. You would think there would be some kind of follow up of cross checking. Okay, if you have 8 kids, you're getting X amount to support these kids. Here's the connection to their education or the services you're receiving or something, versus just like, I can't imagine she's doing this completely by herself. And if she is, good for her, but I can't find any kind of high earning career that would support 8 children.
Yeah, that's hard for me to fathom as well. I mean, I guess she's not paying for Ava anymore and
Right.
clearly not really feeding one of the kids.
So
But
6, but
according
still
to
6 kids is ridiculous.
6 kids is a lot. And apparently the house was full of food and was in okay condition, but it was an apartment. Still, if you have an apartment, that makes me also feel like you're on the grid. You had to go through some sort of application process. There are physically other people around also,
Right.
and you would think other children in that same building probably go to school.
And kids are
And
loud, particularly that
yeah,
many.
yeah. And babies, like, if her youngest is 2,
They're
it's like for
crying. Yeah,
years
you're
she's
not
had screaming
hiding.
toddlers.
Your
Yeah,
neighbors would
especially because
love
she leaves
you.
them home, that she just, like, leaves them home to let the 14-year-old supervise all of them. So I'm sure there's a lot of screaming, a lot of noise, a lot of chaos. And what do kids do all day if they don't even go to school?
I wonder what. So there's 2 babies, right? That kind of are the closet children, for no pun intended. But
Mhm.
I'm wondering if they are from the same father and that there is an
That's
issue
interesting.
with said father, either she doesn't like them, it wasn't her choice to have them, whatever the case was. It seems that these two really are getting the brunt of all of the anger and punishment. And if you have these six other kids who appear to be, quote, healthy and okay, I don't want to say happy because we just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Sure.
I'm wondering like if that's where the aggression is coming from, and it's like I can't take it out on him, so I'll take it out on his kids kind of thing. Because if you have like, I'm thinking like evil step parent, right? Like if you
Mm-hmm.
have your kids and your stepkids, you're mean to the stepkids and not your kids kind of deal. Like that's what I'm trying to connect on, some kind of, not that it makes it okay, but some kind of reasoning on why she picked these two to not really care about.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. I mean, it's interesting to me that these are children that should be very close in age to each other, because the one that was in the closet, who we don't know her name and has not been released publicly, she is 7, and the child who is missing, Ava, she should be 9. So it's not crazy to think that they have the same dad, or maybe that was the product of the same relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I also, it's not uncommon, and we've talked about this in previous cases before, for there to be sort of a Cinderella phenomenon where one child is singled out for the abuse and the other
Yeah.
children are kind of held at a different level and are treated a little bit better. And in that dynamic, can often start to actually abuse the sibling that is being singled out, because it's easier to have control over the other kids if they have like this common enemy, quote quote.
And it's also a
So what do
protection thing, right? Like if you
Mhm.
are seeing what's happening to that sibling, you don't want it to happen to you, so follow suit, right?
Yes. Definitely. And it's
And I think
it's a
it's
survival
hard cuz
instinct.
yeah, like you want to think that like there's always these cases where people stand up to protect their siblings, and that's true, but unfortunately it's not always the case. And also if you're raised
Mm.
from birth in a certain way, and or you're raised and then a new baby comes in and this is how you treat this baby, you know what you're taught.
Mhm.
So it it wouldn't be a surprise if that's happening inside that house.
Sure, definitely. Or there could have been some sort of, I mean, I'm just speculating, some sort of developmental or autism or some sort of delays or disabilities that just those kids had, and that's why they were singled out for abuse and they were able to be othered from the siblings who were treated better. And I think that if you present a child's disability a certain way to their siblings, that's how they're going to interpret it. And it's not
Right.
that I'm just speculating, it's not that she has autism, it's that she's bad and she doesn't listen and she doesn't behave. And, this is why she has to be treated like this, because she cannot obey the rules of our house. And you look at your sibling and you see how poorly they're being treated, and you see your own possible future and your own possible outcome. And who knows what these children saw in regards to Ava prior to her disappearance? They could know fully where she is and what happened to her and be living in constant fear of that happening to them as well.
Yeah, that's a
So
good point.
I mean, and we have no idea what really happened to her. And I think it's pretty disturbing that the last time she was seen was Christmas Day. There's like these very cute pictures of her
She's super
from that
cute.
day. Yeah, she's really cute. And the age progression photos that have been made of her recently are really, really cute too, for when she should be 9. But I feel like it's hard to predict what she would actually look like. I don't I'm not so sure that that's exactly what she would look like, because I feel like, if you have a different haircut, you have glasses, you have this, you have that, it can really alter how someone looks, but it's obviously good to get an idea, because to show
Oh,
someone a picture
yeah.
of a 2-year-old, they're not going to see a 9-year-old. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
how
think the
possible it is for her to be found,
age progression is
this
definitely
point.
helpful. It's
Yeah,
not perfect, but it's more helpful than if you showed the 2-year-old, right? Because you're better off being like, "Oh, it kinda looks like them," versus a 2-year-old to a 9-year-old. They look so different most of the time. Not all the time, but
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's a very significant amount of time, which also puts the investigators at a huge disadvantage here
yeah.
because it's hard to get the word out. It's hard to know where to even begin looking because wherever she started out 7 years ago is not where she probably is right now. And
Well, also,
they don't know if she's
you get
alive,
handed a
dead.
cold case, right? It's not even like
Yeah,
it's here, start from nothing. And
extremely cold.
an infant, it's not like they have a social circle. So
Hmm.
you're really just relying on this family to give you information. And it doesn't seem like any of them are very forthcoming.
So the children, the 7 children that are not missing, have all been taken into foster care. And I'm really hoping that either one of the children will start providing information that's helpful in locating Ava, or that Virginia will crack because she has now been charged with a serious injury to a child due to the abuse of the 7-year-old, and it's a felony. And I'm hoping that she will get some serious time
Yeah, she's
and
being
that
held on what I think $75,000 bond.
yeah, she is. And
Yeah.
she's not, I mean, she's not gonna be able to post it.
Nobody's
So
paying that. Yeah.
yeah. That yeah, no one's paying it. She's certainly not gonna be able to pay it. And I don't want her to get out because I do think she's actively a danger to the community and definitely to her kids. And it'll be easier for the foster parents if she's locked up because of this situation. I'm sure the children are so traumatized and are so confused, and the older ones are going to have to deal with a lot of guilt and remorse. And even though it is not really their fault at all, it's just like, how do you mentally separate from the things that you participated in? And I'm just hoping that maybe one of the older kids or Virginia herself will just start providing information.
Yeah, because I don't know. I also don't see her doing it willingly.
Yeah.
In my, I just, I think the kids might do it by accident too. Like a lot of the time, those kids don't necessarily know that they're providing helpful information.
Mhm. That's true. I think we've seen that a lot in previous cases and just cases we're familiar with, where children tend to leak out information over time as they become more and more comfortable in their new surroundings. And sometimes they draw pictures that indicate something, or they, there could be all kinds of things that could come out in the next few months. But otherwise, I mean, I truly don't know how they will ever locate Ava, and I am very concerned for her well-being because, I mean, I think Virginia knows exactly where she is. And if she is still with us, I feel like she's maybe not in a great situation. And if she's not, then I mean, this poor child deserves at least a burial
Yeah.
and not to
I
be
will say, like,
completely
police have
forgotten.
found harder cases. I don't think this is going to be easy by
Yeah.
any means. And I do hope, though, that
Hmm.
they they do find something. It's very impressive what they're capable of doing. And her the media outrage against her from a local standpoint is there. So you have the community that's starting to get invested, which I
Yeah.
do appreciate. Um, but I will also say all of her social media and all of that is completely blocked now. Like you can't find her on anything.
Yeah.
Or if you can't, like, you do find her, because I found her on Instagram. Um, you can't access
I couldn't get
anything.
it to open.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
locking everything down for her because she can't do it.
But maybe those like 15 days that she was on the run. I mean, that's
True.
a good time to kind of deactivate
She
all your social media.
she probably did it then. Um,
She probably got rid of her phone. And the thing with Ava is like she doesn't have a phone, she doesn't have an Apple Watch. There's no like way of tracking her location. they maybe could, I mean, I guess they have partial access to her DNA because they have Virginia, but when you don't know who her dad is and they don't have any direct DNA samples from Ava because no one knew that she was missing to collect a toothbrush or anything like that at the time, it's they just need to start with everybody that knew them 7 years ago
Mm-hmm.
and work from there.
Yeah, I will say though, I through my Facebook digging because we love social media. because and I
Love
try to
it.
explain this to people all the time. It's like you put something online, I don't care how hard you try, it's out there. Very,
Oh yeah,
very 1 in a billion times is it ever actually disappeared, right? And
definitely.
from pictures that I could find of her, there are, and I'm going to stereotype a little just from personal knowledge and our last previous cases we've worked. Um,
Mhm.
I have a question on if there is some kind of affiliation with gangs, dealing, that kind of world. Just
Mhm.
from pictures she's posting, behaviors that she has, certain clothings, hand symbols that are getting put up in pictures. Um, it would be it wouldn't be a far stretch if someone came back and said she's affiliated with X, Y, and Z that I wouldn't believe it. Um,
Well, if that's the case, I mean, it really opens up a whole new world of terrifying possibilities of what could be going on with Ava because unfortunately, child trafficking is a real thing. And that also is a possibility and that could explain her disappearance if she's involved with criminals, if she's a criminal herself, which she now is for sure,
yeah.
but maybe she was 7 years ago as well. I mean, a lot of behavior has led me to the point of having no trust in Virginia or her ability or her even desire to keep these kids safe. And so I feel like if maybe there was an opportunity for this very struggling single mother who already had a bunch of kids that was very young, I mean, because 7 years ago she was what, 24?
Hmm.
Like, she just had so much responsibility. If she already had a kid, maybe she didn't really like this kid's dad, and now she's pregnant again and gonna have another one. Or, well, I guess she had just had a new baby, the one that was in the closet at the time of Ava's disappearance. She could have been in a situation where she was desperate for money or desperate for drugs or involved with people who have terrible intentions,
Hmm.
and literally anything could have happened to her, or
Yeah.
some kind of violence could have happened in their house. What was that?
And moving, like, making her more of mom, the victim in some of the circumstance. If she is involved in that life, she could be getting ran. She could be
Yeah.
pimped out, used, selling herself if she has a drug issue. There's plenty of options that these children may not have come from planning or intention or even just an accident in a relationship. Um, they could not have necessarily been her choice, and that could have caused some of the anger towards some of them as a reminder of what may or may not have happened. Again, full speculation, have no idea. Just giving the opposite,
Yeah.
right? Like, she clearly is a monster with the fact of this is what she has established in her household with her 7-year-old. But I'm just trying to think of,
Mhm.
like, historically, were you always a monster or did something happen that caused you to become one? And that's what we've battled a lot on
Yeah.
this channel of, is this who you are or what happened to cause? Not that it makes it okay, but it's interesting kind of into the pathology of it all.
It definitely is. It's a new way to think about it because there are versions of this story where you could feel really bad for Virginia and her life and the way that it's gone. But obviously she's also the adult that is supposed to
Yes.
be responsible for 8 kids, and we know at least 2 of the 8 she's not doing so good at that.
Yeah.
And I am now thinking more and more about how little Ava went missing right around the time that this other child who has grown up to be treated so poorly was born.
Right.
Like, was she pregnant when that was happening? Did she have a newborn baby? Was there a lot of stress and tension in the home? Colicky baby up screaming all night?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
You
mean,
just
I hope that we'll find out, but
yeah.
it's a lot of speculating.
I'm sure as the trial comes, because of how viral this case is suddenly becoming, we might hear
Hmm.
some stuff about the trial. Texas isn't normally very good about publicly streaming that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Sometimes things get leaked out, but it'll be interesting if on her case that actually comes out with anything.
Well, I would love to hear that there's been some sort of plea deal struck where she has led us to Ava's location. Um, Even if that meant Virginia being punished less harshly, I just think it would be obviously better if that was known where she is. And I hope that someone's able to find her, and we'll post pictures of her with this episode, missing child and Virginia, just to put that out there somewhere else in case someone happens to stumble across it, has seen someone that looks like her. It's always okay to report suspicions to the Austin police. This is very serious, and if anybody had any information, they definitely should come forward because this is a very cold case.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? The police department is very good about sifting through leads and tips. So anything is better than nothing.
Hmm.
And again, if you're from that area and you know them, it'll be really helpful. I did want to mention one thing that I thought was interesting. Um, Miss Casey Anthony keeps getting referred to in a lot of these post comments. I don't know if you also noticed
Mm.
that. Um, a lot of them are basically
See
saying
why.
the connections there, and hopefully she isn't doesn't get away with it like Anthony. And there's a lot of that kind of thing going on. Um, so that's an interesting correlation if anybody wanted to put two and two together.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see the connection between her and Casey, especially because her kid is missing and she did not report her missing. It's absolutely heartbreaking, though, that this could go on for so long, and that even though I have said many times that I have weird feelings about Kaylee Anthony's grandparents, you cannot deny that they reported her missing and
Right.
they were looking for her. Whether
Yeah.
it was a facade, maybe they had other intentions, maybe they were doing it to look good, they still reported her missing and were actively searching for her. And there was a huge, massive search effort for Kaylee Anthony. And it is so sad to me that Ava Gonzalez does not get the same level of recognition or concern. And I think it really, in a lot of cases, comes down to how the family presents and how the family initiates investigations. Because, like you said, a 2-year-old doesn't have a social group. She also cannot advocate for herself, and she doesn't have her own, like, at that point your mom is your life pretty much.
Yeah.
And so if your mom is not looking for you, and then your mom's family and her friends are not concerned about you, not looking for you, don't notice that you're suddenly absent, I mean, it puts this child at a terrible disadvantage, and it puts the police at a terrible disadvantage. And yeah, I think, it's similar. Unfortunately, I think that there's probably a lot of similar circumstances, but I think that Ava did not have anyone to advocate for her. And because, Kaylee also doesn't have a dad that's known, but she had grandparents
Right. There was
that
someone
did
who knew she
a
existed.
lot of media appeals. Yeah, exactly. That knew she existed and was willing to go to the press and talk about her nonstop, which I have not seen the Gonzalez family doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't. there's not a lot to say. It makes it really sad. Other than our speculations, you just don't know, right?
Yeah.
And I agree. I hope
We
that
don't
something
know.
comes of it from somewhere, someone, the children,
Yeah.
family, some random person who is in a social group with the Gonzalezes. But the other part of me is this case will never close until something happens. They might not
Yeah.
have as many investigators on it as time goes because that's just how it goes, unfortunately. Um, but I don't know. I definitely want to see her in jail because this is not okay. Regardless of what happened to that baby, you
Right.
don't deserve to have those children back. Plain and simple.
Definitely not. I mean, literally encouraging your 14-year-old and your 10-year-old to abuse their sister is so disgusting. And I think that that kind of a mother, that kind of a person belongs to be in prison for the rest of her life. The
Yeah.
only exception, I think, the only reason she should ever even be offered a plea deal is if she was able to offer information in the search for Ava. But I think if she did that, it would just be self-serving completely.
Well, even
Because
if
this is
that was
someone
the
who is
case, the
selfish.
plea would probably be very specific on time or charge, right? They're not going to be like, you can walk free if you tell me this. Like, it's still going to be, you can get a lesser on X versus Z. Like, they're not going to
Yeah.
completely let her off 100% to find a body, but they might be like, hey, we'll let you have the eligibility to get out again, or like something of that similarity would be my guess.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
Either way, very sad. Very glad they're in a new house, and hopefully these children are in good foster homes and
I
getting
hope so.
support and counseling and trying to get them back into school and catch them up on what they've behind. And so hopefully that these kids will be able to start building a life. The 14-year-old and the 10-year-old are definitely going to have the hardest because at that point you have memories from that age. The younger ones
Yeah.
aren't necessarily going to remember. The 2-year-old is they might have some like psychological issues but not necessarily memories. Um
Right.
so I don't know.
For sure. Because
The
this is
the older
still
ones are going to hard.
psychologically traumatizing. Absolutely. For the harder ones. And I feel like this is one of those situations where it would probably be best for them not to all be in the same foster placement and to have some distance from each other. But I'm sure that's also incredibly traumatic for the kids to not all be together.
And honestly, they might not, even if they could with the foster system, I don't know how you could have a placement for 6 kids in the same place. Most of the
Yeah,
time they're
yeah.
struggling to place 2.
I would imagine that they've probably split them off into 2s or 3s. Because yeah, I just can't imagine that there's a foster home who can just overnight take 6 kids,
Right.
7 kids. I mean, yeah. I don't even know if it would be safe for them all to be together at this point. I think probably a lot of therapy and a lot of unpacking needs to happen. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely tragic. I think right now Virginia is right where she needs to be, and ugh, yeah, hopefully they're putting some pressure on her to give more information.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, do you have any
Alrighty.
final thoughts with Miss Virginia or little Miss Ava?
I don't. I'm really hoping for the best and hoping that she'll be found. And if you live in Austin or if you've been to Austin, maybe just take a second, look at this age progression photo and just see if this is someone that you have seen. Look at Virginia. Do you know her? Did you know her 7 years ago? It doesn't hurt to look.
Yeah,
How about you?
absolutely. I completely agree. You couldn't say it better myself.
All right. Well, until next week. Have a
Until
good
next time.
one.
You too.